So it seemed quite logical that you can just combine the two into one. Hi fellow inline pilots, welcome to the channel. This is my third year on inline skates and my skating progression has entered a new phase because I've hit the city streets. I'm actually skating on the streets now and commuting to work about once or twice a week as well. However, in the beginning it was not so easy to start. One of the biggest challenges for me, as I expected, was braking, because the city services in my area, my country, the Netherlands, they're not predictable. We don't have asphalt everywhere. It's a lot of brick roads. Some of them new that are okay, but a lot of them are old and the bricks are not even anymore. And we have a lot of pavement on sidewalks and on bicycle paths. And if it gets old, then the tiles are not straight anymore. They got tiles standing up and edges between them, gaps between them. And yeah, try to brake with that on any sliding braking method. It will not work. It would just be dangerous. And that's what I quickly realized when I started to get out there. And I realized that none of the braking methods are good enough for what I'm facing and what I want to do. I want to just go around the city and not plan my route around nice, easy to skate roads only. I just want to go wherever and see what I come across and skate it. But yeah, I didn't have any braking method, so I had to come up with a new idea. And I came up with a solution that I'm going to explain in this video, and hope that it also benefits others. And because I needed to have a braking method that brakes well, is very stable, can handle edges, and is safe to use. This is one of the main problems with any kind of slide, such as the power slide. It's a very nice stable slide on a flat surface, but as soon as you hit any edge that is about as thick as half of your wheel width, the slide just hits it. It doesn't go over it. It just slams into it as if you're hitting a brick wall. And okay, if it's just one edge, you can maybe lift up your foot. But think about a pavement with every other tile sticking out. How are you going to do that? You're going to lift up your foot every millisecond? No, that doesn't work. Then, well, you got a sole slide, and it does go over this edge, because the sliding foot in a sole slide is kind of pushing sideways as well. So the angle is not perfectly perpendicular to your path. And it seems as if it's a solution, but it's a bit of deception, because if you hit an edge that's the angle of your skate instead of a perpendicular edge, the problem gets even worse, because not only does your foot not slide over the edge, it actually gets slammed sideways and you definitely fall over. But also the other way around with the sole slide, as I mentioned in my video about braking methods. If you hit a patch of sand or something else that's a bit more slippery, because you're pushing sideways, suddenly your friction sideways reduces and you slip out to the side of your skate the other way. So yeah, the sole slide is not a solution for what I needed either. On the contrary, the good old heel brake does very well on rough surfaces and edges sticking out, pavement that's uneven. Exactly the kind of surfaces that I come across in the city. And therefore I started using the heel brake as soon as I started hitting the streets. And that has served me quite well, but it has also let me down. There are a couple of downsides that I don't like about the heel brake, and it's not that it gets in the way of crossovers. I don't find it really getting in the way at all when I'm really on it, when I'm having a proper knee bend and I'm really skating the way I should be skating. But the main issue I have with the heel brake is that it doesn't always brake very well. It mostly brakes quite well on a rough surface, on tarmac, on pavement with rough tiles. But sometimes the brake doesn't have a lot of grip on some surfaces, and you are expecting you can brake very well, but then suddenly it doesn't brake very well and it lets me down. But also when you do have to brake very well, you have to put a lot of weight on that front foot and on the brake pad instead of the wheel, and therefore you also lose some control. You cannot really steer and brake at the same time when you're trying to brake really hard with the heel brake. So this is another thing I didn't like about the heel brake. So I wasn't completely satisfied. I was still looking for something else to brake better, more reliable braking strength in all situations. Of course, there's always the trusty T-stop to slow you down, and that will work in any situation which I will come across in the city. However, as you know, if you've ever tried it in reality, the stopping power is quite disappointing. And if there's an emergency where you suddenly have to brake, or there's a downhill which is steep, the T-stop will not save you. It will not, maybe not even slow you down when you're going on down the hill. So relying only on the T-stop is not safe in city unless you are planning your route and you slow down wherever you don't know what's going to come across your path. That's not the way I want to skate. I just want to skate normal like I do on my bicycle and be able to brake whenever something happens that I need to brake for, and the T-stop just doesn't do that. So yeah, that's not enough. However, if you look at both these methods together, side by side, there's something very interesting, because if you look at the heel brake, there's the front foot that's braking, but the back foot is just rolling along. It's not doing any braking. It's kind of useless. But then if you look at the T-stop, the front foot is just rolling, not doing anything, and the back foot is doing the braking. So it seemed quite logical that you can just combine the two into one and have braking on both feet at the same time. So you combine the robustness, the reliability of both methods while adding their braking power together. And if you know about the magic slide, you can see it's quite similar. It's just that the front foot is not doing any sliding here. It's using the heel brake. So therefore, I thought maybe we should call this the magic heel brake. And it is quite magic because it solves all the problems I was having. It has a lot of braking power, and it is reliable on the surfaces in the city. And as you can see, it does exactly what you would expect. The heel brake just goes over the edge, as you would also have with the heel brake by itself, and the dragging foot just goes over the edge, as you have with the T-stop by itself. So problem solved. Of course, that's easier said than done. Trying anything new on inline skates is always a bit of a challenge for me, especially when it involves both feet doing something different. And this is not an exception. In the beginning, I had some difficulties stabilizing the dragging foot. As you can see, I fell down once, and I was unstable in the beginning. But after a while, a little bit of practice, I started to become more stable, and I was able to increase the speed and start experiencing the braking with the magic heel brake. And I was surprised how much stronger it brakes than just the heel brake. Even though the T-stop doesn't by itself slow me down a lot, together with the heel brake, it gives a lot of extra power. Maybe also because of the way I hold my dragging foot a bit closer than I usually do in a T-stop. I'm not sure, but it was really helping, getting a really strong braking power. Even though I wasn't fully pushing the heel brake on the ground, I was still having the wheel of the front foot roll on the ground as well. And I could brake in a couple of meters from full speed, as much as I could get in this limited space. I can't say it's an easy braking method to learn. I think it's a bit of an advanced method, but definitely it's easier than a magic slide. I'm sure that it can be improved a lot from what I'm showing here, so don't take this as an example. I think I will progress hopefully as well. Maybe in a couple of months I can record some video again and see how I'm doing. But it's not easy for beginners probably to start with. Of course, you need a very stable T-stop to begin with before starting to try out the magic heel brake. If you don't already have a stable T-stop, you might want to look at the previous video I made about the secret to having a stable T-stop, which involves changing the weight of the foot that's dragging between the toe and the heel. And then once you get that stable, then you can maybe start trying out the magic heel brake. Besides the magic heel brake being very effective for braking by itself, it can also be a practice step for training yourself to eventually be able to do a magic slide. And there's one video I know on YouTube by Natan Swiss Roller School, which I will link in the description of this video below, where he's actually recommending this to learn a magic slide by lifting up your front foot, the front of it, and trying to roll on the heel while you're doing a T-stop. So it's exactly the same, basically. Only the difference is that now you have a brake on the front foot and you can actually brake very effectively using this already, before you even are able to do a magic slide. So if your friends ever try to shame you for having a heel brake, just tell them that you're training for a magic slide. Can they do a magic slide? Probably not. You're training for it. What are they doing? Just like with the T-stop, the magic heel brake becomes a bit difficult to balance when you get to a full stop. So in the end you can use another method to do the full stop, such as I'm doing here with the stepping plow. Or I also like it with a lunge stop in the end. However, in practice, honestly, the most obvious, easiest, most reliable way is just keep that heel brake on the ground to get to the full stop, and it doesn't take any width. So especially in narrow space, it's really the perfect way to get to the full stop. So just put the dragging foot back to rolling and keep braking with the heel brake in the end, and it's really easy to stop exactly at the point that I need to. So there you have it. This is my favorite emergency stopping method. And most of the time I don't actually need to use it, because I can use a stepping plow if I have enough time to brake, and it will save my wheels and my brake pad. Or I just use the heel brake, so I still save my wheels. It's only when I really need to stop very fast or on a downhill, then I would also apply the T-stop together with the heel brake. I hope you enjoyed watching this or find it useful. I'm looking forward to the comments. I really enjoyed the comments from last video and other videos. Thank you for the engagement and all the positive responses that I had, and all the new subscribers, welcome. And I'm pretty sure there will be comments with reasons why not to use a heel brake. But after trying it myself, I'm really surprised why not many people are using a heel brake. But I'll leave that for another video maybe. For now, thank you for watching. Bye!